All right, welcome back to WMAC Now with your host, Chuck Stevenson, and welcome to episode 90 of the WMMA Scene Report, regular show where we go over just about everything going on within the world of women's mixed martial arts, within women's, MMA divisions, news, updates, fight reviews, fight previews, you name it, we talk about it. Tonight, we're going to talk about mismatches and how they, tend to hurt the women's divisions overall rather than help them, at least, especially in the long terms. Sometimes promoters think that setting up mismatches and elevating certain fighters helps them, but in reality, it just hurts their promotion, the women's divisions, and everything in the long run. Episode number 90. We're only 10 away from 100. I got to hurry up and come up with something special to do for 100. Anyway, let's get down into it. Let's start where we always start, with the fight reviews for this past weekend. So first up, we are going to Icon Fighting Federation number 5. Going to the flyweight division, Griffin Fisk defeated Alexandra Balu via submission due to standing rear naked choke, minute 58 seconds of the first round. Fisk climbed to 1-0. Balu fell to 1-1. Quick, fast submission here. Very nice work for Griffin Fisk. Next up, we go to the strawweight division. Macy Bro defeated Shauna Ormsby via TKO due to ground and pound, 4 minutes 50 seconds of the first round. Bro climbed to 1-0. Ormsby fell to 2-3. Another fairly quick finish here. Nice work there by Macy Brew. Just really know how to use her weight and balance on the ground, which allowed her to really just unleash some heavy ground and pound. Missed weight, though. Got to get that weight cut fixed. Staking to strawweight, Isis Verbeek defeated Valerie Wong via unanimous decision. Verbeek climbed to 1-1. Wong fell to 0-2. Nice effort here by Isis Verbeek. Wasn't so confident in the first round, but as the second and third were on, she just gained more confidence in her stand-up and her takedown defense and what she could do once she got taken to the ground. And that just really allowed her to come out ahead in the points and get the win. And then finally at strawweight, Emily King defeated Kayla K-Rock Rocco via unanimous decision. King climbed to 5-4. Rocco fell to 3-3. This is a nice fight. This was actually my fight of the night for this event. Just exciting, back and forth striking battle. Not too much work on the ground. Just a very interesting clash of styles on the feet as well. The kicker in King versus the boxer in Rocco. Nice adaptations by the fighters throughout the fight as well. As the fight wore on, they each adapted to the other style a little bit better. I think King adapted a little bit better than Rocco did. And then King got it, floored Rocco very late in the fight with a kick to the head. A very nice effort there by Emily King. And nice job by Kayla Rocco as well. It was, like I said, it was a good fight. For me, it was the fight of the night for that event. So nice to see a smaller promotion like Icon promoting the ladies like that. Then on Saturday over in Sweden, and you could have watched this on UFC Fight Pass, Josephine Knudsen defeated Adriana Fusini via unanimous decision at strawweight. Knudsen, successful pro debut. Fusini fell to 3-1. I still haven't had time to watch this fight. But from what I heard, it was just an absolute mauling by Knudsen. Like, she got like 2 10-8 rounds on each of the judges' cards, or at least one judge's card. So very nice win there for Knudsen. Fusini, though, got to give her credit. She took the fight on short notice. Then UFC 259 went down in Las Vegas, had 2 ladies bouts at strawweight. Amanda Lemos defeated Liviana Souza via TKO. 3:39 of the first round. Lemos climbed to 9-1. Souza fell to 14-3. Dominant win here by Amanda Lemos. Souza was just never in this fight. Lemos is big for that division. Like, she's only 1 inch taller than Souza, but she is very imposing. She's a former bantamweight. Got popped on the sauce, took a year or 2 off, came back off of that, now down at strawweight. She's still very imposing at strawweight. So she could potentially be a problem there. Then at, co-main event, featherweight championship, Amanda Nunes just absolutely destroyed. I mean, wrecked Megan Anderson. Finished her with submission via inverted triangle armbar, 2 minutes, 3 seconds of the first round. Nunes fell to 21-4. Anderson fell to 10-5. Anderson was just not in this fight for any of those 2 minutes and 3 seconds. Or she might have been in the fight for like the first 3 seconds, and then it went all downhill from there. I mean, she just got absolutely wrecked, destroyed. She just, as soon as she looked nervous from the start, but as soon as she felt the power of Nunes, I think she realized, oh crap, I am in deep. Kind of felt bad for Megan Anderson. I mean, I'm not an Anderson fan or anything, but yeah, I kind of felt bad because she just knew instinctually that like she was just completely outmatched. All right, so that is it for the. Excuse me, one sec. That's it for the weekend review. So let's get down into the news. There is a lot to talk about in the news this week. Some of it just came out within the past couple hours. Big announcement out of one championship as well. So let's get down into it. First up, Bellator 256 goes down April 9th. They announced a flyweight bout. Diana Avsaragova coming in at 2-0, taking on Tara Graf coming in at 1-2. Avsaragova, they signed her like early last year, and then the COOF hit. I haven't been able to bring her in since then, so they finally making her Bellator debut. Tara Graf, you might remember, she got knocked out by Valerie Loretta. I mean, she got hit hard by Loretta. Then moving on, UFC 261 goes down April 24th. They announced a strawweight bout between Ariana Carnelosi, 12-2, and Na Lian coming in at 15-4. So Carnelosi, I remember her first fight was against, I think, Angela Hill. I can't remember if she's fought since then. Big, hulking fighter, built a lot like Jessica Andrade, who I believe she trains with. She has a similar style as well. Na Lian, 15-4, one fight Bellator veteran, but she is the first female to graduate from the academy program at the UFC Performance Institute in Shanghai. She used to fight at flyweight. Now she's down to, now she's down to strawweight. Very much looking forward to what she brings in. Her last few opponents haven't been that great, but that's because, she was fighting on the local Chinese circuit. So looking forward to what she brings in. Then Bellator 257 goes down April 16th. They have set the flyweight bout between Vida Ortega, 5-4, taking on Desiree Yanez, 5-2. Now, that fight was supposed to happen, I think, late last year, and it ended up not happening because I think one of them caught the COOF, or, one of their corners caught the COOF, so then they couldn't fight because of it. I can't remember the exact details, but it was COOF related. So they rematched, scheduled this bout now. It's going to go down April 16th. It should be a fun one, too. Both are ladies who bring the action. Then finally, official for UFC 261. I talked about this in a different video. The strawweight title bout, Zhang Weili, 21-1, taking on Rose Namajunas, 9-4. It's finally happening. Now I can talk about this. People ask me, like, are you ever going to talk about this fight? And I said, yeah, when it gets official. My thing was, there's so much other stuff that actually is going on that I was like, I don't have time to talk about this because then it takes time away from stuff that is happening. So now that this fight's official, yeah, I'm going to start talking about it a little bit more. And then PFL has announced their first card with the ladies, the first set of bouts for the 2021 season. It's going to go down May 6th. All lightweight bouts. We have Kayla Harrison taking on Mariana Moraes, Jenna Fabian taking on Laura Sanchez, Larissa Pacheco taking on Yulia Payek, Cindy Dandois taking on Caitlin Young. That should be a very interesting matchup there. And then Olena Kolesnik taking on Taylor Guardado. Now, that's a battle of Invicta veterans right there. So is Dandois versus Young, but Kolesnik fought for Invicta a few times at featherweight. Guardado, you might remember her from the Phoenix Series 3, where she went to the finals as a bantamweight. Fortunately for her, she lost to Tanisha Tennant. Now she's making the big jump to lightweight in the PFL. Then FEN 33 / Lodos Fight Night 5 goes down March 27th in Poland. They announced a bantamweight bout. Isabella Badarek coming in 8-6 versus Ekaterina Shekalova coming in at 4-1. I do see your comments, Leon. I'll get to them at the end of the news, though. So just be patient with me. And then featherweight, Megan Anderson announced via her Twitch channel that she is no longer with the UFC. Best of luck to Megan. Kind of a surprise, but not really. I mean, she did just come off a title shot, but she's not the first fighter to get cut after a loss in a title fight. She follows in the footsteps of Liz Carmouche. So best of luck to Megan wherever she goes. Then Open FC3 goes down April 17th in Russia. It has a featherweight bout. Anna Remneva coming in 2-0, taking on an opponent to be announced. So hopefully I'll be able to keep up with that one. And then let's see. Oh, FAC goes down May 7th in Kansas City, Missouri. An atomweight bout. Elle Wagman coming in 1-0, taking on Chelsea Lagrasse, coming in 2-3. Lagrasse sounds familiar, but I can't remember where. She might have fought for Invicta before, but don't quote me on that. Then we have, let's see, strawweight. Julie Meza Barba has signed with One Championship. She is Brazilian. She has a record of 8-2-1. And from what I've seen, she signed her first bout agreement. So we'll have to see who she faces first. And then two-time French Olympic wrestler Cynthia Veskin has announced that she has signed with the Professional Fighters League, or rather, the PFL has announced that she has signed with them. Nice to see a female Olympic wrestler making the conversion to MMA. Trying to remember, the last one I can think of is Sarah McMahon, because I don't think what's her name ever go to the Olympics? I think she made the team but had to bow out. Strawweight. Suarez, Tatiana Suarez. I think she made the team, if I remember correctly, but was unable to go. I'm getting to it, Equationist. Then UAE Warriors goes down March 20th. And, of course, the United Arab Emirates, most likely Abu Dhabi. They announced a flyweight bout between Corinne Laframboise, coming in at 5-4, and Carolina Jimenez. I believe she is 6-0. I've seen Jimenez fight once for Invicta. She fought in a exhibition bout as part of one of the Phoenix Series tournaments. I think I've seen Laframboise fight as well once before, but I can't remember when. But it's nice to see UAE Warriors still signing the ladies. I know they just lost out on Casey O'Neill, who fought for them like once and then signed with the UFC. Nice to see UAE doing that with the ladies. Brave, which is like in a neighboring country of Bahrain, used to have the ladies fights, and they haven't for a while now. So I'm not sure what's going on with that one. Maybe it's just because they're in Bahrain. I'm not quite sure, but hopefully they'll get back to them as well. And then, like I said earlier, one more announcement before I get to the big one. Pancrase 321 goes down May 30th in Tokyo, Japan. They announced a flyweight bout. Emiko Raika, 11-7, taking on Nori Date, 3-4. Should be a fairly easy win for Emiko Raika. The Date, I love Team Date. I will watch every Team Date fight. To me, you're guaranteed either a beatdown or some kind of interesting fight. I love Team Date. They got the teenager too, Karen Date. She seems to actually be pretty good. So we'll have to see if Nori Date can even up a record against Emiko Raika. But I'm not betting on her on that one. So final bit of news, and I am going to make a standalone video on this. One Championship has announced an all-women's event to go down May 28th, headlining the strawweight, 125-pound, flyweight everywhere else, title bout. Seong Jin Nan defending against Michelle Nicolini. So nice to see Seong Jin Nan get back in the ring within like a relatively short amount of time. And finally, Michelle Nicolini getting a well-deserved title bout. Now, I'm trying to remember, has she fought since she beat Angela Lee? I can't remember. But either way, it's a well-deserved title bout for Michelle Nicolini. And it's going to be strange because they both train out of Evolve, or at least I know Seong trains out of Evolve full-time. I don't know how much Nicolini has been training there. So that's going to be like a weird one because they're technically teammates or gym mates. So that should be interesting. Then they announced the quarterfinal bouts for the one atom weight, 115-pound Grand Prix. I kind of like these matchups. I kind of like them. I think they're pretty good. First up, we have Sahi Ham taking on Denise Zamboanga, two of the more favorite fighters in this tournament. Ham, definitely the biggest step up for Zamboanga to this date, even more so than Mei Yamaguchi. For Ham, I think she's taken on one of the stronger fighters in these brackets in the first one. So whoever wins this one is probably going to be favored to win the rest of the tournament. Then we have Aliana Rasohina taking on Stamp Fairtex in a match from their one Unbreakable 3 fight where Fairtex was almost made it. Like 3 seconds left. Or was it 3 or 7 seconds left? Tapped out to that guillotine. I'm not surprised they made this matchup. I was kind of hoping they'd maybe try to put it off just to see if they could get to that rematch later, earn their way to it. But they're going to go ahead and do it right away, which got to give them credit. They're giving people what they want to see because I think a lot of people want to see this rematch right away. I know Stamp Fairtex certainly wants to have it right away. Then Itsuki Harata takes on Elise Anderson. To me, this might be the most interesting matchup because they are both young, both inexperienced, or relatively inexperienced. Anderson has more experience. I know that for a lot of One Championship fans, they're unfamiliar with Elise Anderson. But trust me, she's a fun fighter to watch. She's a finisher. Just can fight everywhere. Harata, one of my favorite specialists in MMA. She's judoka. Likes to take fighters down, go for the collar tie, and go for the TKO or submission from there, usually for the submission. I think this will be an interesting one and Harata's biggest test to date. And then finally, Mungbo taking on Ritu Phogat. So I think a lot of people are going to immediately favor Mungbo, probably by knockout or technical knockout. However, Mungbo admitted after her last fight against Samara Santos in what was supposed to be an absolute gimme fight, admitted after the fight that she needed to work on her ground game. And Phogat is a pure wrestler. She's worked on her stand-up, and it has shown improvements. However, she hasn't shown yet that she can, work on the transitions properly because I remember in her last fight, she just stopped striking completely to focus on the takedown. And if she does that against Mungbo, she can open herself up to the knockout. So I like all 4 of those bouts, plus that title fight is, excuse me, drinking my water too fast. That title fight is money as well, and it's honestly, it's the only fight to make in that division. But I like it, and it's going to be a big challenge for both fighters. For Seong, her ground game is going to get tested. For Nicolini, her stand-up's going to get tested. Who's going to win out there? I like that title bout as well. I just can't wait for the Grand Prix. Oh! All right, so that's it for the news. Let's catch up on the chat right now. Who would you like to see Anderson face next, whether she goes Bellator or not? When it makes sense for her now, in your opinion. I would like to see her go to Bellator next. I think that makes the most sense. I think she even said she has no interest in going back to Invicta. And I got to admit, the money is not going to be there in Invicta. Once you've had that UFC money, you don't want to go back to Invicta money. Bellator is going to be able to pay her a lot better than Invicta will. As for who she should fight there, I'd have to bring up their. You know what? Yeah, I'll go ahead right now and bring up their roster. Just give me a second there, Leon, and I will get to it. See, fighters, women's featherweight. Ooh, that's a good one. Amanda Bell. So Amanda Bell has a 7-7 record. However, so it's not that pretty of a record. However, she can knock chicks out. So I think that would be a good one. And you got that. There'd be a big height difference between the two, but Bell has shown she can face other fighters and knock them out. And I think it'd be a good recovery fight for Anderson as well. Ortega got COVID. Okay, so that settles that one. I see Julian Payne. I didn't see it. I read some of the quotes. Juliana Pena is going full heel. I mean, she's kind of always been in like an unintentional heel. So, she's got to play the part. So don't blame her. Did I miss the discussion? No, so I did get to that. Kayla Harrison. So she was a judoka, not a wrestler, though. Megan beat her. Oh, I forgot all about that. So let me see who else she can go in against there. Who needs a win in there? So you could go with the rematch between her and Kat Zingano. I mean, that toe to the eye left a lot of people sour. Let's see, Leah McCourt. Sinead Kavanaugh has a similar record, or Olga Rubin, both primarily stand-up fighters. So I think either of those two, Sinead Kavanaugh or Olga Rubin, could do it. Do you think UFC should promote and build their 145 fighters and build a division like Bellator does? Or do you think UFC should go all in on Nunes? Well, I think they already decided they're not, in spite of what Dana says, they're not going to promote and build their 145 fighters. They wouldn't, just let Megan Anderson go after one loss like that. I mean, she has a lot of fans. She's a fan favorite. She's fan friendly. So why would they let her go if they were going to try to build the division? Because then she could build her way back up. I think they're fully transitioning now. It was always meant to be the Cyborg vanity division, in my opinion. And now they're just going full in on it being the Amanda Nunes vanity division. They're going to sell her as a double champ. They're going to keep letting her be the double champ as long as she wants. They're going to let her be the double champ and just beat up on, featherweights or featherweights, blown up bantamweights, as long as she wants to, because they're going to be able to sell it as a pay-per-view fight because they want title fights for pay-per-views. Even if it's a low-selling pay-per-view, UFC doesn't even care that much anymore because allegedly they're getting paid up to like 400, the first 400,000 buys anyway. So no matter what. So I don't think they even care if the pay-per-view doesn't sell because they're going to get their money no matter what. Do they want it to sell? Yes. But if it doesn't, it's not going to hurt them so much. That's cool. I was surprised when they didn't care if Cyborg left. They never liked Cyborg. Dana White never did. And all she did was complain no matter what anyway. And then when she released that video, she burned her final bridge. I think she wanted out as well anyway. She was playing way too much hardball. And then I think she realized she wasn't going to get exactly what she wanted. She released that video ensuring that she was out for free. what's next for Pam? Bellator should just sign her. I mean, well, Invicta should definitely try to book her a title fight. And until then, I think she should campaign with Bellator or for Bellator. Cyborg wants Bellator to sign her, so Cyborg has a good relationship with them. She is their champ, and her and Scott Coker go back a long time. So maybe Cyborg will speak up for Pam Sorensen. All right, so that is it for the news. Let's move on to the rankings updates. So for the UFC, hold on one sec. Okay, sorry about that. They didn't transfer properly. So first up, at strawweight, Lavinia Souza is out of the rankings. Amanda Lemos is in at number 4. Felice Herrig moves down to 15. Why is Felice Herrig still in the rankings? I am a big Felice Herrig fan, but she doesn't belong in the rankings anymore. She just doesn't. And then at flyweight, Alexis Davis is now unranked. She moved up to bantamweight for her most recent bout. Andrea Lee is up 1 from 12 to 11. Shevchenko up from 13 to 12. Santos up from 14 to 13. Barbara up from 15 to 14. And Jillian Robertson is now ranked again. So, and then she's fighting Miranda Maverick. I think Miranda Maverick's going to have in the rankings pretty soon. So hold on a sec. I got to figure out what one. So I missed a whole lot of fights for the review. I'm just going to go over these real quick here. My apologies. I know this is out of order, but I missed these fights for the weekend review, and I apologize for that. So we got to go to Deep Jewels. Deep Jewels 32 went down Sunday morning if you're in the U.S. Had a bunch of good fights. Minus 55 kilogram catchweight, Hime defeated Kate Lotus via decision. At strawweight, Shoko Fujita defeated Amiba by decision. Shoko Fujita showed a lot of skill and some nice fundamentals for a pro debut. A very nice effort there by Shoko Fujita. Amiba was just never in this fight. I'm not, jumping on a bandwagon or anything, but Shoko Fujita showed some very nice skills. Then Yukari Nabe dominated Miko Nirvana en route to a decision. Nice effort there from Yukari Nabe, just coming back from, apparently she had surgery last year, tore some ligaments and stuff. Then we moved on to the Atomweight Grand Prix matchup. Hikaru Ano dominated Emi Sato with her wrestling, and I'll be honest, it was a boring fight. This fight was boring, but Hikaru Ano was just completely dominant with her positioning control. And then, unfortunately, the bout between Aya Murakami and Sakura was canceled. Sakura missed weight and then was transferred to the hospital. Aya Murakami moves on to the semifinals in May with a bye. And then Shiyu Park dominated pretty much Mizuki Nisei Oshiro, scoring a unanimous decision. She scored like 3 10-8s too. I'm not sure if it was in the first or second round, but she had 3 10-8s in there. And then finally, Saori Oshima picked up a fast first-round submission via double wrist lock or Kimura over Emi Tomomatsu. I'm not going to say this was an upset, but you have younger fight, one of the smallest fighters. She's like 5'11", a microweight no less. The microweight champion of Deep took on the most experienced and second oldest fighter in the tournament and beat her in less than a minute. I mean, it was just very fast submission, very nice aggression from Saori Oshima. I was very impressed. I was like speechless when it happened. I mean, I did a live companion stream and I just was like, wow. So anyway, that is it for the reviews for this past weekend. Or that was it for part 2 of the reviews that I didn't get to earlier. So let's get into the fight preview for this weekend. Let me break out the iPad here real quick. Okay, first up, Super Fight MMA 16 goes down Friday in New South Wales, Australia. Has a strawweight bout. Olivia Akmar there on the left taking on Jacinta Austin. Both of these ladies are making their pro debut. I don't know anything about these two. I just thought it was nice to see Australian MMA and Australian WMMA getting back on track. So I decided to include this. And I don't know how this will be viewable. Let me see. Doesn't say. I'll look it up and try to update everyone. Then Cage Fury FC 93 or CFFC goes 93 goes down in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. On Friday night, they have a flyweight bout. Ashley Dean coming in 5-5, taking on Jasmine Jesuda Vicious on the left there. Jasmine's on the left. Coming in at 4-1. Quick look at the stats. Jesuda Vicious coming off a loss to Elise Reed at strawweight 6 months ago. Dean coming off a win almost 6 months ago over Taylor Turner via submission at Valor Fights. Neither of them are as young as I thought. Jesuda Vicious is 32, Dean 31. Jesuda Vicious will be taller, 5'7", 170 centimeters to Dean's 5'5", 165 centimeters. I haven't seen Dean fight, so I can't really make a comment on who would win between these two. I know Jesuda Vicious has the hype, and she certainly has, the cleaner record, even though she's less experienced. But I don't feel comfortable making a pick on this one, just because I don't know anything about Dean. I mean, she could come out and out wrestle and outstrike Jesuda Vicious. I just don't know. Then we move to Lux Fight League 12. Goes down Friday night in Monterrey, Mexico. One bout at Tapology says strawweight, but I'm pretty sure that, Tapology says flyweight, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be at strawweight. Wouldn't this be at strawweight? Yeah, this should be at strawweight because the last time these two fought, they both fought at strawweight, not against each other. This is supposed to be part of the strawweight tournament to crown a new champion there, and they did the quarterfinals last year, and they're picking up with the semifinals this year. So Sarai Orozco taking on Alejandra Orozco. I'm going to assume there's no relation. Sarai coming in 5-4. Alejandra coming in 2-4. Both coming in off of wins, obviously, in the tournament. Alejandra, a split decision win over Judith Bolanos. Sarai, a unanimous decision win over Yahara Roma. I don't have any other stats for Alejandra. Sarai is 29 years old, stands 5 feet 5 inches, 165 centimeters tall. So Sarai, you might remember her. She fought Shinju Nozawa Auclair over in Ryzen. I said that when she fought her quarterfinal bout against Yahiro Romo, that whoever won that bout was the automatic favorite for the tournament, and Sarai won it. So I'm going to pick Sarai Orozco to win this one as well. She has the more experience, more wins. I think she's just going to be the all-around better fighter here. So we're going to go with Sarai Orozco, the one on the left here. Then also on Friday night, LFA 101 goes down in Shawnee, Oklahoma. Has one, excuse me. Is this bout going down? I thought it was. I thought there was two ladies bouts going on. Maybe it looks like Oh, looks like this bout got canceled. The weigh-ins for this bout would have been today. Looks like this one got canceled last minute. It was supposed to be Abril Anguiano taking on Marisol Ruelas Lopez. It's Marisol Ruelas or Marisol Lopez? It's Marisol Ruelas Lopez. I don't know what happened with this one. I'll have to try to find out and update everyone on Twitter if I can find it. Ruelas was supposed to fight on Icon a week ago. Don't know what happened to that fight there, but then she announced this LFA fight. And I even asked her, I said, so what happened with the Icon fight? I asked her on IG. She never got back to me. And then now this bout got canceled. So who knows? So anyway, moving on. Another strawweight bout. Jacqueline Amarim coming in at 2-0, taking on Tasha Gandhi, making pro debut. Amarim coming off a win 3.5 months ago in mega fight down in Brazil via arm triangle choke. Nice. Looks like she's 25 years old, stands 5 feet 3 inches, 160 centimeters. I don't have anything available via Tapology for Tasha Gandhi. Nothing. I couldn't even find a picture of her on Google or DuckDuckGo image search. So this is an easy pick. Jacqueline Amarim. I normally wouldn't make a pick like in a fight like this, but I'm going to go for Amarim because I think she's obviously the LFA favorite fighter. And I've talked before about how LFA has favorite fighters. So then we move to the final event of the weekend that I could find. Saturday night, UFC Fight Night, Edwards versus Muhammad, a.k.a. UFC Vegas 21. 3 ladies bouts, all on the prelims. No main card ladies bouts. So if you're only tuning in for the ladies bouts, you're done after the prelims are done. You can call it an early night or morning. First up, at strawweight, Jin Yu Fry coming in 9-6, taking on Glorina DePaula, coming in at 5-2. Fry has yet to find success in the UFC, has dropped her last 2 bouts, most recently to Loma Lookboonmee via decision 4.5 months ago. DePaula coming in off a win over the Dana White Contender Series over Pauline Macias. That was 3 months ago. Jin is 10 years the elder, 35-25. DePaula taller, 5'5", 165 centimeters to 5'3", 160 centimeters for Jin. DePaula will have the reach as well, 67.5 inches, 171 centimeters over Jin's 65 inches, 165 centimeters. So this is very much, I don't like to swear too much. This is shit or get off the pot for Jin Yu Fry. She's 0-2. And you see they're cutting fighters off of losses lately. So she's got to do something here. And I think it's going to be, I'm high on DePaula. I'm not on a hype train because I don't ride hype trains. But I talked very nicely about her after her win over Pauline Macias. I thought she showed a great all-around game in that fight. Very dynamic fighter as well. Fast moving. Showed nice skills. Good fundamentals. Showed good transitional skill. Everything. Jin, like I said, she's got to shit or get off the pot. And I don't mean just that in a win sense, win or lose sense. She's got to shit or get off the pot within the fight itself too. You know, she's way too very much pot shotty. You know, she pot shots, picks her shots. Not a volume thrower. Tries to throw, power over volume. But she's got to pick up the volume, pick up the pace in this fight. Or else she's going to get destroyed by another debutante. Maybe not destroyed, but she'll definitely lose to another debutante if she doesn't do that. I have not picked against Jin Yu Fry in a long time, but I am picking Gloria DePaula to win this fight. And you know what? I hope Jin proves me wrong for picking against her. I hope she proves me wrong for picking against her because I don't like picking against her. I like her. But, man, and maybe I am getting a little hypey about Gloria DePaula, but I'm going to go with DePaula to win this one. Next up, a flyweight bout. Courtney Casey taking on J.J. Aldrich. Cast Iron coming in 9-8. Aldrich coming in 8-4. Both ladies coming in off of losses. Courtney Casey via rear naked choke submission loss to Jillian Robertson 8 months ago. JJ Aldrich, wow, even longer. A split decision loss to Sabina Mazo. Casey's the elder fighter, 33 years, to Aldrich's 28. She'll be taller, 5'7", 170 centimeters to 5'5", 165 centimeters for Aldrich. Reach is almost even, though. Aldrich, 67.5-inch, 171 centimeters to Casey, 67-inch, 170 centimeters. JJ Aldrich has the worst luck at flyweight as far as getting matchups goes. The UFC matchmakers, they must not like her because they keep putting her up against some of the biggest fighters in that division, okay? You're not going to get much bigger than Macy Barber size-wise in the flyweight division. That was her first flyweight fight. Both of them were moving up from strawweight, but Barber had no place at strawweight ever. Then she took on Sabina Mazo. Or no, she did get a win over Laura Mueller. But then she took on Sabina Mazo. Another big fighter for the division. Just outsized. And now she's taking on Courtney Casey, who is a bigger fighter as well. And you know what? Every one of those fights, I would say that JJ Aldrich was the more technically proficient fighter. It's just that she gets in against these bigger, stronger, more athletic fighters. And Courtney Casey is another example of that. Old cast iron. Big fighter, athletic, not as athletic as, say, Barber is, but she's also strong. Here's where Aldrich, I think, is going to excel here. If Courtney Casey ends up clinching with Aldrich, and she likes to clinch for some reason, I don't know why, but she likes to get into the clinch. She closes the distance too fast and ends up clinching. And then she gets drawn into that clinch and ends up losing. And the fight from there. And I think that could be JJ Aldrich's keys to victory. That, and she's just a more technical fighter. I think she can easily outbox Courtney Casey, even at range. Because Casey, for all of her length and reach, just does not know how to use it. Does not know how to fight at range, and that's why she always ends up in the clinch and then losing in the clinch. I'm going with JJ Aldrich to win this one. Although Leon brings up a good point. Casey's one of those fighters, win or lose for her. Win or lose, win, lose. Yeah, her last couple fights have been win-loss, win-loss. So maybe Courtney Casey's due for a win this time. I don't know. But we'll go with JJ Aldrich. I think in spite of the size and athletic differential, I think JJ Aldrich is just an all-around better fighter than Courtney Casey is. And I like Courtney Casey, but she is, so I can say this as a fan, she is frustrating to watch as a fan. And then finally, this fight got moved back here because one of Yoder's teammates or cornermen caught the coof. Angela Overkill Hill taking on Ashley the Spider Monkey Yoder. Hill coming in 12-9, Yoder 8-6. Hill coming off of 2 straight losses, split decisions, both to Claudia Gadelha and then Michelle Watterson. It's very hard to argue that Hill lost that fight to Gadelha. It's hard to argue that Gadelha won that fight. Very hard. I will say that she lost to Watterson, though, 3-2. So she's not losing, getting beat badly. Yoder coming off a win over Miranda Granger, but then, had those 2 losses before that. Hill's the older fighter, 36-33. You would never guess Hill is 36 years old. She just moves way too fast for a 36-year-old. I mean, I'm 36, and I can't move that fast. Let's see. Yoder's the taller fighter, 5'7", 170 centimeters, to Hill's 5'3", 160 centimeters. Yoder has the reach as well, 69.5-inch, 177 centimeters to Yoder's 64.5-inch, 164 centimeters. My pick when this fight was originally booked was Angela Hill, and it is going to stay Angela Hill. So we're going to go with Angela Hill to win this one. I just think that she's just put together, she has her game put together much better than Ashley Yoder does. Ashley Yoder, she doesn't have the striking that Angela Hill does. Definitely not. And then when she goes to the ground, she's a little too sloppy there and gives up positions way too easily because she's so impatient trying to go for the finish that she just gives up position way too easily. And I mean, she showed some improvement on that, particularly in her last fight against Miranda Granger. But I just don't know if it's going to be enough to beat Angela Hill. So we're going with Angela Hill to win this one. All right, so that is it for the weekend preview. So I do have a discussion topic tonight that I want to talk about. Let me bring it up here real quick. I want to talk about mismatches in the women's divisions. Okay, now this isn't what I'm really talking about when I say mismatches, because this is a freak show fight, what we got going on over here. Gabby Garcia versus Yumiko Hata. That was really a freak show fight, but it was definitely a mismatch as well. Most freak show fights are. So I want to talk about, how mismatches hurt the ladies' divisions overall, and really they hurt the sport overall, period. Usually mismatches are made. Sometimes they're made because, there's no choice. They need a late replacement. And you know what? I understand. I understand. You're trying to keep a fighter on a card. You're trying to keep a slot on a fight card filled, and you got to go with whoever you can get sometimes. That I understand. I don't have a problem with that, even with a mismatch if it's that situation. But sometimes promoters just really want to build up and hype and promote a fighter to the point that they just book mismatch after mismatch after mismatch. And honestly, it hurts the divisions in the longer run. And sometimes it hurts that fighter in the long run too, because they build up that fighter by giving them these easy fights, but then as soon as they make that step up, it's too much because they're not used to, someone who can fight back. And then they lose, and then boom, you got to start all the way over with them again. Or you have a situation where you give these fighters all these mismatches, and then it makes your division overall look weak because you have a couple good fighters and then a bunch of crappy fighters who can't get wins over the good fighters at all. And it creates an imbalance, like a severe imbalance of skill levels within your women's divisions, or your women's divisions too, if you're doing it. So, mismatches, they hurt your promotional company, they hurt the women's divisions, they hurt the sport overall. And I have a couple examples that I want to talk about, and this is nothing against the fighters themselves. If I really wanted to talk about mismatches, I could probably really dig into one particular fighter that I won't mention. Actually, I could dig into a couple fighters that I just won't mention. So I left them off to focus on mismatches that really I can really just pin on the promotion alone more than the fighters. First up, I didn't realize this picture was going to be this small. So let me go ahead and enlarge it. Mara Mazar versus Jung Yoon Chae in one championship. Mara Mazar came into this one. She was like a 7 or 8 fight veteran. And she took on Jung Yoon Chae, who only had 2 fights and hadn't fought since 2017. And this fight just took place in November at I can't remember the name of it. It's not important. But like a 7 or 8 fight veteran taking on a fighter who had only had 2 fights and hadn't fought MMA in 3 years. And I'll tell you why they did it. Evolve Mixed Martial Arts. Okay? The people that run and own one championship also own Evolve. And they used to hide this fact back in the day. They hid it for quite a while. Chatri Sityo was not officially or publicly the CEO of one championship at that point, but he was known as the owner of Evolve MMA. And Evolve and one have always had that close relationship. So yeah, gave a complete mismatch here to favor the Evolve MMA fighter. And it was an obvious from the start, okay? Che was in there. She looked kind of scared to be in there. This was just a clear mismatch to favor up a fighter that fights for their chosen gym. Then, here we go. Mara Mazar taking on Jenny Lynn Olsen. This is another mismatch here. Sort of the same. Jenny Lynn Olsen, she's been more active more recently than Jun Yoon Che, and she has a couple more fights than Jun Yoon Che. But here you go. Mara Mazar, big experience differential between these two fighters. Now, this is coming up in next weekend, I believe, at One Championship. So here you go. You got the Evolve MMA fighter getting the mismatch in her favor. Who else do I have on here? And before you think that I'm just picking on one, guess what? Invictus is not immune to it. Okay? This fight was technically a mismatch to favor Kay Hansen. Okay, Kay Hansen is primarily a wrestler, almost exclusively a wrestler. And they built her up against a lot of fighters who came in pretty looking, and they were primarily strikers with little to no takedown defense. Nicole Cagliari, what do you have? A good-looking striker with zero takedown defense and jiu-jitsu game, but not good enough to stand up to the wrestling of Kay Hansen. And Kay Hansen just dominated her on the ground. Mismatch in order to build up Kay Hansen. Okay, I went out of order here. Then they had her fight. Who's this girl? One sec. I didn't write down notes for this one. Liana Perozin, another one. Good-looking striker. Zero takedown defense. No wrestling game to be found. So they kept building her up against fighters that she could easily take down and out-wrestle. Now, you could say, well, those fighters could have outstruck her. Yeah, if they had the takedown defense to stop Kay Hansen's takedowns, then yes, they could have beat her. But they didn't. So then what happens when she did face the likes of wrestlers? She took on someone like Sharon Jacobson, who completely dominated her for, 14 minutes and 45 seconds of a 15-minute, 3-round, 5 minutes each, 15-minute fight. Just completely dominated Kay Hansen in that fight. Now, I will give Kay Hansen credit. She pulled off the women's MMA equivalent of Anderson Silva versus Chael Sonnen, in that Jacobson let her up, picked her up to suplex her down. Hansen lashed on an armbar and armbarred her with less than 15 seconds in that fight. And she came away the winner. And I'll give her full credit for that. But it just showed that as soon as they gave someone who could out-wrestle Kay Hansen, she was getting controlled on the ground. Or, for example, Kay McKenna against Hansen's second fight in the UFC. She fought someone who could wrestle in Kay McKenna and got dominated, got beat. So that is a good example of favorable stylistic matchups / mismatches hurting a fighter in the long run, because you give them fighters that are so easy for them to beat that when they face someone who could beat them at their own game, they flounder. So I missed this one for One Championship. Colby Northcutt versus Puji Padme. Padme moved up to like 135. She's not a 135-pound fighter. Colby Northcutt was like a foot taller than her. Huge size differential here. And she was just unable, Padme was unable to do anything against Colby Northcutt. All to push Colby Northcutt, who was like 0-1 as a pro at the time. I just did not understand this matchup at all. Just did not understand it at all. This was a pure mismatch. Not an experience factor, not really, but size differential. Huge mismatch. So then where do we move on next? This was a while ago. Ryzen 10, Ayaka Hamasaki versus Alyssa Garcia. Hamasaki is, you could make a very strong argument that she is the greatest atomweight ever. And then she took on Alyssa Garcia, who had a losing record at the time. She was like 4-5 at the time, lost this fight, and then went on like a 3 or 4 fight win streak since then. But still, Hamasaki coming in. This is her rising debut, if I remember. Taking on, she was still the Invicta Atomweight champion, had not lost her title. Came into Rising, took on a fighter with a losing record. On paper, now granted, this fight was a lot closer than it should have been. It had any right to be. A lot of that was because Hamasaki had worked a lot with Josh Barnett in the past, and Barnett was in the corner of Alyssa Garcia, so he helped Alyssa Garcia immensely. And that fight was a lot closer than it should have been. But it was still, on paper, it was a mismatch. It should not have been made. And that's nothing against Alyssa Garcia. It's just you have the number 1 atom weight in the world at the time taking on someone with a losing record. That's a mismatch. Let's move on to the UFC. And I'll admit, my favorite fighter ever, Sahi Ham. She fought big size mismatches in the UFC. She was moving up from atomweight to strawweight, and 3 of her 4 fights were against fighters who ended up moving up to flyweight once that division opened. Now, granted, they were all at strawweight in the UFC, but the size differential here was huge mismatches. First, she fought Joanne Calderwood. Big size differential there. I mean, it was apparent from the beginning. Then, I have this out of order. Then she took on Courtney Casey, and she did beat Courtney Casey. Her skill was able to win out in a split decision, I believe, over Courtney Casey. But it was a huge size differential mismatch. And then she fought Beck Rawlings in Australia, and I thought she won. I thought Ham won that fight. So, again, huge size mismatch, and then fighting someone in their home territory got screwed. So, but yeah, big size differentials. It mismatches against size as far as size goes. And then most recently, Nunes versus Anderson. Safe to say, everyone knew going in that pretty much everybody knew going in that this was a mismatch. I don't know too many people that seriously gave Megan Anderson a chance. And this is for a title fight. Title fight mismatch. It's inexcusable, honestly. I mean, granted, there's no one left for Nunes to fight at 145, but that doesn't change the fact that this is a mismatch. And honestly, what did it do? It made Anderson look bad. Nunes kind of looks good, but kind of also looks like she was can crushing. So, again, got to go back to, what I was saying. Mismatches, they hurt the fighters in the long run, usually. At least in MMA, they do. Boxing, it's like mismatch after mismatch for like 20 straight fights, usually, before you get a step up. But in MMA, you get those step ups a lot faster, usually. And if all you're doing is can crushing or fighting mismatches, then it's going to hurt you in the long run. It hurts the promotions in the long run because it makes them look bad, because if it's a total mismatch, people are going to know it. Even if they don't know it on paper, they're going to know it when they see it happen and go, wow, that was a total mismatch. Why did they book that fight? It makes the promotion look bad. And then it just hurts the divisions in the long run because you have, like I said, big skill differential. You got a bunch of girls that aren't any good taking on girls that are good. But if they're not facing each other, then they're taking on the mismatches. And it just looks bad for the women's divisions. Mismatches don't help anybody in the long term. They might be good for a short-term gain, but they're just bad. So that's really all I wanted to say about mismatches. So let's go back over to the chat. Arthur Antonio Nguyen. What do you think about the quarterfinal matchups for the One Championship Atomweight Grand Prix? So I mentioned them earlier. I like them. I plan to do a video about them as soon as I'm done with this stream. And take a lozenge for my throat because my throat's getting sore from talking too much. But I do plan on releasing a video talking about them. I like them for the most part. Speaking of those, I missed a comment by Real Snitch Mob Hitter earlier. I was really hoping to see Itsuki Hirata versus Denise and Mungbo versus Sahi Ham. Well, you might still see Mungbo versus Sahi Ham. If I look at the brackets, and if these are actual brackets and how they're going to be set up, Mungbo and Sahi Ham are on opposite corners of the bracket. So you could still see Mungbo versus Sahi Ham. Stamp versus Ham would be hype too. So if the brackets are set up this way and I don't redraw them after the quarterfinals, if Ham wins and Stamp beats Rasuhina in a rematch, you could get that fight there. So I like these matchups. They're exciting. Already did that. Future mismatch coming up, Felicia Spencer versus Danielle Wolf. On the ground, it is a mismatch in favor of Spencer, definitely. On the feet, I feel that it favors Danielle Wolf. She's very long, very lengthy, knows how to put her punches all the way out, uses her reach. So it could very well be a mismatch in a stand-up, or it could in one way, but then on the other hand, it could be a mismatch on the ground going the other way. Although Spencer's stand-up isn't bad at all. And she throws a lot of spinning kicks. So to be fair, that Corey McKenna versus Kay Hansen fight was pretty close. It was a split. Yeah, it was a split. But like I said, anytime she steps up against someone who can wrestle with her, she struggles. So it wasn't like a mismatch necessarily, but it was the fact that she wasn't being put against, other wrestlers, primarily strikers, to, make her look good. She was being pushed against that way. So that when she did step up against wrestlers, she largely lost. I mean, barely beat Sharon Jacobson, lost to Magdalena Sormova, who beat her on the ground, and then lost to McKenna, who was able to wrestle with her. So anytime she fought someone who was able to wrestle with her, she didn't do so good. Anyone Sahi Ham fights in the UFC is going to be bigger than her. But then again, Carla Esparza was able to beat. Not everyone was going to be bigger than her, though. She could have fought Tisha Torres. They're around the same size, relatively. Esparza was, granted, when Ham was there, Esparza was crowned the new champ and then coming off of that being champ. There were smaller fighters she could have fought. Astro Girl, what's her name? Astro Girl. Oh, what's her? I can never remember her name. Poor girl. Alex Chambers was small and had fought at atomweight before. There were other smaller fighters for Hum to fight. They just put her in against 4 of her fights were against 3 of the biggest fighters in the division. So, Obscene, what do you think of recent signing from UFC adding new featherweights from now? Doesn't look like it's going to happen. Other than Danielle Wolf, who they had to do something with. I just don't think they're going to sign any new featherweights. Also, there's rumors of Megan Anderson possibly being cut from the UFC. So she said straight up on her Twitch stream that she is no longer with the UFC. She is a free agent, which the fight against Nunes was the last fight of her contract, which honestly just goes to show you that fight was so much of a mismatch. They didn't even attempt to sign Anderson to a new deal beforehand. They had zero confidence in her winning that fight. Or they had so much faith in Nunes winning that fight that they didn't even see fit to sign her to a new deal first. They never do that in a championship fight. Never. Anytime a fighter gets a championship fight and they're even close to the end of their deal, UFC usually tries to sign them to a new one. And they didn't do that with Anderson, which tells you that they knew she was going to lose. And that was the end of her deal. And according to her, she's a free agent now. So she says she's got some hurt injuries. She wants to heal up. I guess that armbar messed up her arm pretty good. She wants to take time to heal up. And then she'll move on from there. But we'll have to see. Anything else going on that anyone has any questions about or wants to talk about? Got 4 people in the chat. Yeah, it is messed up for them to let her go. I think that, but to me, I think it shows they're not going to really keep featherweight around. Dana White said it's up to Nunes. If she wants to keep defending it, then they'll keep having her fight it. But who are you going to have her fight against? I think it's going to be the same situation that Cyborg was in. It is, instead of being a Cyborg vanity division, it is now the give Amanda Nunes fighters to crush and call it a title fight division. That's basically what it is now. It went from, being about one, it went from a one fighter division in favor of one fighter to being a one fighter show for another fighter. So I hate this phrase, but it is what it is. I really hate that phrase. Anyway, that's really all I have tonight. So thank you to everyone who tuned in and watched. If you haven't checked yet, I hope they're pumping up the likes. Let me know your thoughts on Mismatch. If you're watching this on a replay, let me know your thoughts on the mismatches or anything else I talked about in the comments down below. If you like the video, please give it a like. And remember that if you subscribe to WMMA Scene Now, the most complete women's mixed martial arts dedicated platform on YouTube, if you go ahead and choose to subscribe, also hit that bell for notifications so that you know when new videos get dropped or when I go live. For some reason, my numbers as far as my subscribers are doing good. I'm getting subscribers every day. But every time I go look at my analytics and, look at my audience, subscribers, let me see. Yeah, watch time from subscribers is really low, unfortunately. Like 13.9% in the past 4 weeks are from subscribers. And to 86.1% of watch time is from non-subscribers. So if you are going to subscribe, hit the bell. It lets you know when I drop a new video or when I go live. So now that I said that, let me start all over again. If you'd like to let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you like the video, please give it a like, share as well. And while you're at it, if you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe to WMMA Scene Now, the most complete women's mixed martial arts dedicated platform on YouTube. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.